Good morning. So I know it's been a little while since I've shared, probably a couple of weeks. And it's just been a really sweet time of being just introspection that hasn't had a whole lot of effort into it. It's just been a very satisfying, sweet, deep place of love and knowings that just keep bubbling up. And I guess the part of why I haven't been sharing is because there's been such a depth that it's been hard to describe. That's it. It's been hard to describe. But yesterday I was having lunch with a dear friend, and we came across this really fun analogy. We were both talking about how we were feeling so done with being in a relationship with a self that is so false, and a real interest in being in a healthy knowing of self. And the analogy is that it's like being that when we're identified primarily as the self that's of our own construct, the thing we call me, that is really just the me, the image that lives in our mind, the mind constructed, the conditioned self that is built upon a lifetime of stories and trying to make sense of the things that have happened to us, and it's full of the doubts and the lies and the uncertainties of I'm okay, but I'm not okay, and I was okay 2 days ago, but now I'm not feeling so okay. It's the constantly shifting story of self. That's like being in a relationship with just a dysfunctional person, a narcissist, somebody who's constantly telling you stories. And the relationships that we can be in, where when we finally get fed up and we say, this is ridiculous, this is not serving me anymore, it starts to promise, no, don't leave, I'll be good, I'll tell you nice things, I'll tell you good things about yourself, I'll be more loving, I'll be more kind, I'll be more generous. And we fall for it, and we're back in a relationship with this thing, and it just says, give me one more chance. The mind, the story of you says, give me one more chance to be nicer, to be more kind. And it always lets us down. Okay, I got a little message on here. I have no idea what that message says. And it always lets us down. And we fall for it. We go back into relationship with it. And we fall in and out of a sense of trust and a sense of... It's like we believe it. We keep believing it. All right, I'll give you one more chance. And the reason is because it's the only relationship typically that most of us have. It's the only sense of self that we have, is the constructed self that we built in our own mind. The self we're trying to clean up, the self we're trying to get to behave. And we start to notice that when we threaten to leave this relationship is when it gets the most abusive. It's when it starts to tell us there's nothing but me. This is the only relationship that'll love you. This is the only relationship that there is for you. And if you try to leave me, there will just be nothing. There will be emptiness. There's nothing out there for you except this relationship you have with this false self, this conditioned self that you've built in your own mind. And it keeps telling you that if you leave me, if you find another self, another relationship, it will not be satisfying. It will not be as exciting. It will certainly not be as dramatic. And I'm all you've got. And who the hell do you think you are trying to go find a better relationship, a more truthful, honest relationship. You're not worthy of that. And that's when it gets really abusive. You're not worthy of that, and it's unsafe out there, and without me, you'd be nothing. That's the big one, right? Without me, you'd be nothing. That's what this false self, this constructed, conditioned self, tells us. But imagine that we're so enamored with that relationship, and it's right in our face, and it's always telling us stories. It's always telling us stories. And it has no allegiance to truth. It has no allegiance to you. It only has allegiance to itself. This is the ultimate narcissistic relationship, right? The false self only cares about itself and maintaining itself and projecting itself and keeping itself in the picture. And it has no actual interest in truth or in you. And imagine that, like, you're in a room and this false you, this false relationship, this dysfunctional relationship is constantly in your face, and just beyond that relationship there's another self sitting in the room, beautiful, but more quiet, more restful, more peaceful. And there's something within us, and the story of us is telling us, oh no, that relationship would be boring. Look at that relationship, look at that person sitting over there. They're just like, they're not interesting. They're not dramatic. They're not constantly talking. They're not constantly describing life and interpreting everything and making everything up and telling stories. Look at them. They're just sitting there. They're not telling any stories at all. That relationship would be boring. But what if you stop listening to this conditioned self that is unreliable and dishonest? And what if it's going to keep talking, but what if you just stop listening and you might have maybe moved it aside and moved toward this other relationship, a stable, strong, clear, loving, honest self? And when we try to engage that self in the old ways that we engage with this dysfunctional self, when we try to engage with this beautiful, eternal self in the same ways, and we say, tell me a story about why I'm good and why I'm lovable and why I'm okay, it doesn't engage. It doesn't say, oh yes, let me tell you about why you're lovable. Look at all the people that love you. Look at all the good things you've done. Look at how kind you are. It doesn't try to point out evidence in the world of form. It just looks at you and it just feeds you, just emanates love. And it feels good. It's odd. It's not telling us stories. It's not as vociferous. It's not as vocal. It just is. And we start to recognize that we can just feel into a truth of being, a truth of self. And it won't let us down because it's not telling us stories that it keeps changing. It just does the same thing over and over and over again. It just loves. It just loves. So it's a fun analogy to work with. Just imagine that there's two selves you can be in a relationship with, and one of them is always making up stories and is always shifting its stories to it's not honest. It's just always shifting its stories to meet your different levels of need. And it betrays constantly. And when we threaten to leave it and find the true self, the other self sitting over there, the beautiful, stable, loving self, when we threaten to leave this dysfunctional relationship and be in true relationship with self, that's when it really starts to get abusive and make us feel bad about ourselves and say, you need me. And showers you with gifts and showers you with validation and showers you with all these things that's going to make you stay. And you say, oh, okay, well, you're not so bad after all. You're kind of nice. All right, I'll stay in this relationship with the conditioned self. And it's got you again. And it says, and don't ever threaten to leave me again. But when we come into relationship with this other self, this true, eternal nature of being, we find it offers us everything. Because it offers us love, peace. It's not scared. It isn't coming from a place of lack, uncertainty, doubt. And when we fall into relationship with this true and eternal self, again, think of like in this room, and you've actually come into relationship with this more beautiful, true being that is you. The old one's still there. And being in relationship with this truth, it helps you to meet the old stories. It helps you to meet and hear the old stories, but not to believe in them anymore and not to engage with them. You say, no, I'm in relationship with truth now. And I'm going to meet all my old stories as this old relationship as it keeps presenting itself and keeps trying to get me back and keeps trying to convince me that it's needed. So maybe we can all start 2019 leaving this old relationship that is dysfunctional and doesn't serve and it's not honest and it's narcissistic and it only cares about itself. And walk past it and go find this other self that is sitting there in peace, in love, in grace, isn't all animated with stories, and may seem initially like it is going to be a boring relationship, but it invites you to explore the universe. It invites you to explore the vastness of love, the vastness of possibility, the vastness that is so much larger than anything that the old conditioned self could ever promise you. It's like the old conditioned self promised you little gems, little objects of love. And this true self is saying, I have no objects for you. I have no gifts in form. All I have to offer you is love. Infinite, infinite, infinite love and presence. So you can know that this is you. Blessings. Namaste. Much love. If you like this video and you'd like to see similar content, please subscribe to my channel. As well, click that like button down below, and that's going to make this video more available to more people. And please visit me at my website, chessedwards.com. There's a link for that down below. There you are going to find valuable resources for living a conscious, powerful, and peaceful life. As well, you're going to find information about how to work with me one-on-one, or how to build your own custom 3-day private immersion retreat with me here in Sedona. Plus, there's information about upcoming group retreats, virtual retreats, and so much more. And I've got a few free gifts for you. I hope to see you there. Thanks for watching.